Guys, today we have Andre down in the corner and Christian down in the corner. I've also realized that these are probably going to be in a totally different order on the actual video, so I'm going to try to not point at anybody today because that did not.
That's what happened last time.
And yeah, but these guys, they have a podcast called Real Talk University. It's a very good podcast. You guys are what, 14 episodes in now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just recorded our 15th.
Just recorded our 15th. So we'll be looking out for that. When do you guys upload them? Are you guys still doing them weekly?
Yeah, so we do it every Thursday. It's a weekly podcast. Yep.
Okay. Yes. So guys, go listen to Real Talk University every Thursday, and then listen to us every Sunday, and that'll be that. So let's just start with, first of all, here's the first question I wanted to ask you guys. How does it feel to be the ones being interviewed for once? I've listened to you guys give so many interviews.
As you can tell, we were pretty unprepared. We showed up a little late, so I don't know. It's kind of a weird feeling. It's pretty cool, but anything to help, fellow podcasters. If Christian has anything to say.
Yeah, for sure. I'm normally amazed at how long people's answers are, so I'm going to try to keep that bar set for this because I'm not really prepared. I'm just coming in here seeing if I can freestyle these questions, hopefully. I need to grab a charger.
Oh, okay. Well, there goes Christian. We lost him already. And, I've noticed on your podcast, the guests you get can almost do the whole thing themselves, and you guys don't get a ton of words in usually, and you've been working on that. So, yeah, that's that. Gerard, hit him with a question.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So on the topic of those guests that you get, where or how do you acquire guests? Because you're on episode, what did you say, 15?
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty early in the game. We're pretty early in the game. Where do you find them?
Yeah. So basically, going into it, Christian and I, we recorded an episode where we, said who our dream guests would be. And then going from there, we just were like, okay, we all have role models in business and entrepreneurship, like, Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, all these guys. So we started local. And then from there, people just started to pick up on our podcast. We had some incoming requests that we accepted. And then we just started to do some outreach, either through Instagram messaging, Twitter messaging, emails. And we've been, surprised with these guests that we've been acquiring. We have a lot of huge names coming in, like names that we've been studying and looking up to for years.
Mm-hmm.
We can't really mention any names yet just because that's something we want to wait our guests just to see. But yeah, I mean, we're surprised ourselves. But like I said, like each episode, we try to bring quality guests to the show. I'll let Christian talk as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, never be scared to reach out to someone via DM or email because honestly, like Adam Weitzman, one of our interview guests, basically said, like, I don't really like interviews. I would never do them, but you guys are college kids, and I would love to have someone do it if I was in your position. So no matter how big the name is, just never be afraid to reach out to them, and the worst they can do is say no, or, like, you could try again in a few months once you get bigger. Like, I know, for example, Andre, who was it that said that? I think it was Roger, right? He got denied twice by one of his idols, and then he got accepted the third time, so it never hurts to just keep trying.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. We by the way, Gerard, remember that other night that I texted you and then you texted me back and we just kept saying each other's name for like a couple messages before I realized I started the conversation and forgot what I wanted to say. I wanted to tell you about that idea that they had earlier on in their series where they did the 3 or whatever, however many like entrepreneurs they'd like to have on in the future. I think we should do that with our guests as well.
Definitely do that. We already have one of the people we mentioned, one of Christian's guys from his list that's coming on the show. So
that's awesome.
Definitely do it. Just putting that out there so that people know. I mean, you could even show them that episode saying like you're one of the 3 guests that we wanted. Definitely put that out there for sure.
Yeah, that is a cool idea. We'll have to do that.
Yeah, that's really awesome. You guys are, you're killing it with the, especially with Alex Morton. Obviously, that was your most recent one, and that's already like growing. That was somebody that people know about, and he's speaking at the 10X Growth Con and all of that
great
kind
guy.
of stuff.
Reach out to him, man. Reach out to him.
Yeah. Oh, Noah just texted me. I was about to talk about him too because of something you said, and now I forgot what he said. But he said something that was similar to what Noah told us last week. I don't remember what though. All right, I'll move on since we're trying to do this in time today. You guys, I know and can tell listening to, which one of you does most of the editing for your?
I do.
Andre.
Yeah, I do the editing.
Andre does the editing.
Yeah, so between me and Christian, we kind of just find what we're good at or what we know how to do, and we just split the work that way.
Yeah.
So
So what are your roles? Like, break it down a little bit.
So
Well,
you
I
know,
run. Oh, you can go first.
yeah, Christian runs the Twitter. I run the Instagram. I do the editing. Christian records all the episodes. He's like the tech guy during the episodes. We split research and questioning. We both manage the hosting, and that's about it.
And then we try to reach out to as many people as we can, and Andre apparently lands like everyone he reaches out to, which I can't do yet. So
yeah, Christian's got some great people too. But literally, what I've been telling Christian knows this as well, is just reach out to whoever.
Yeah.
You could literally send emails to whoever, and Christian's been really good about that. I've been really good about that. So we just have two people sending requests day in and day out, and it's been working so far.
Yeah.
So would you say you guys have any like any tips to give to like a numbskull like me who doesn't know how to ask people, hey, would you do an interview on my podcast? Like, do you have any tips on how you approach these people?
Yeah, Christian, you want to go first?
yeah, definitely well, we kind of have like a blueprint that we send to everybody, so we just like switch the first name of who we're sending it to, but just kind of outline how you're up and coming, you're a college student, you really are motivated by their story, you would really love to have them on the show, and just highlight like how many episodes you've done. For us, we made it on the top charts, so we put that in there, like we were on the top 25 podcast list for a brief stint, but yeah,
and always give them a reason why they should be on your podcast. Obviously, for us, our unique approach is that they have the chance to talk directly to these college students that are looking for the motivation. So that's a good selling point. And again, just have like a blueprint that you stay consistent with.
Yeah, I remembered what I wanted to say about Noah from last week that you touched on was that we're trying to get Gerard here, get his Instagram up and running. I guess I didn't really start with this. Gerard's an artist, and he's over there for me.
Yeah,
I just said I wasn't going to try to point.
I'm not businessy.
Yeah,
I'm actually like stereotypically the opposite, like the creativity, like artsy type. I try to be a little businessy because I'm kind of logical, calculated in my art, but it's not easy for me. I mean, it's not easy for anybody, but I'm not businessy.
No problem.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. He's an amazing artist, by the way.
Yeah,
guys, his Instagram is @GerardMirabelli.art, and we'll make sure these two are following after this. But that's a new one too that we're trying to grow for him. And Noah said the same thing about reaching out to people. Actually, when we were talking to him about Instagram, he said that he just reached out to I forget which page it was, but he reached out to that page like 7 or 8 or 9 times or something with his content. Just kept reaching out to him, and they were turning it down, and eventually, they asked him. They said, "Hey, do you want to make some content for me?" And then they gave him a shout out on like a couple million follower page, and that's how he kind of got Financial Freedom started. So.
Definitely. I don't know who Noah is, but he knows what he's talking about, so I would take that advice. Yeah,
it's @Finance and Freedom.
Cool.
And so that's that. So also speaking of reaching out to people, I want you guys to explain how you've been getting your sponsors, because they're not the normal crappy anchor sponsors that I actually know how to get a hold of. But are you just emailing companies and saying, hey, or are they reaching out to you, or what's the?
So actually, it's funny. I'll let Christian tell this story about the first ad we ever got was an inbound request. So I'll let Christian talk about that.
You're gonna make me do this?
Yeah.
All right.
I've told this story way too many times.
All right. So when we made the charts, we kind of got some recognition, and we got an email from a company named Adam and Eve. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but they sell adult sex toys, I guess, to put it lightly. But they reached out to us, and they said they wanted us to do a 45-second ad read, and they were actually paying decent money for it. And we kind of considered it, but we ultimately said no. We don't want to look.
Yeah,
that would just
be associated with them.
That was our first ad. That would just make us look like we're just reaching for quick cash. So
we
shot that down. We politely declined that, but Andre can go into our more recent sponsors.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so we picked up 2 ads just recently with Audible and GameFly. Yeah, that's a great story. It's awesome. But actually, it's from a local company, right? So they kind of noticed what we were doing with our podcast, and they just got bought out by an ad agency in Silicon Valley. So they worked with us. Also, our podcast mentor, Roger Brooks, he runs a podcast called American Real. So they kind of made a deal between us and Roger to get us those sponsors. So this is something that it was just a good connection locally. And again, like Christian mentioned, making the top charts really helped us to get that recognition and the validity we needed to put these ads on our show. And also, I think it does correlate too with the guests you bring on the show, because that plays a huge factor.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Gerard, do you have any more? I have more, but I don't want to go through all of them.
No, obviously it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of stuff right with your show. And you're like we were talking about before, it's only 15 episodes in, which is awesome. Okay, all right. No, we're wondering if you have any like specific goals or milestones that you want to hit with your podcast or anything for the future.
Andre?
Yeah, I can start here. Yeah, so I'll tell you, my first goal by the end of the year is to actually get 1 million podcast listens. And I mean, yeah, it's a big goal, definitely. But again, like Grant Cardone says, 10x your goals, right? So there's no reason you shouldn't be shooting for these goals. And I think we're on the right path to get there. We'll keep you guys updated with where we're at, stuff like that. But we don't, I mean, numbers, again, it's not all about the numbers, right? I think really the goal for Christian and I is the same as when we started and had no idea where this podcast would go and how long we'd be doing it for.
Yeah.
Is to just learn from these people, have the chance to sit across from them for 30 minutes of their undivided attention and get all the advice, all the knowledge that we need ourselves to go on with our career and business. And that remains my number one goal going throughout.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely just say that we want to get some of the esteemed guests on our show that we mentioned before, and then definitely try to hit 100 episodes, because we're doing 1 a week right now, but
100%.
hopefully as this picks up, we'll be able to do 2 a week as we map out more and more episodes ahead of time. So
that's funny. We're
that
gonna ask you about that. We were wondering about that.
Okay, so yeah, that's awesome. What about where do you guys stand with the monetize? We just talked about sponsors a little bit, of course, and you have a couple sponsors, so you're monetizing your podcast. But where do you guys stand with monetizing it? Is it really like, are you making it a point to monetize yet, or is it more just like there was an opportunity there, so you took a couple sponsors? Or are you going to do listener support, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I think it was more of just having the opportunity, because again, like, we had the chance for a money grab early on, which we turned down because that's not why we started our show, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would turn that down anyways, but just to bring back that point. But with these offers from Audible, obviously it's a great fit and it's offering value to our guests. And the monetization aspect of it isn't for Christian and I to walk away with money at this point, right? It's to put that back into the podcast, put out better quality. I mean, we just used some of the money from the ad revenue to make a professional intro. We hired voice actor, all that kind of stuff. So we're just continually trying to improve the show, hopefully put out more episodes, and just the work me and Christian are putting in, some of the money that we've been making from the show. It's it'll come. And if you guys are worried about numbers or monetization, you guys are doing a great job. Just keep doing what you're doing and it'll come before you know it.
Yeah, we like to think that we're just freshmen in college and there's like still so much time and we're already ahead of the curve. Starting this, it was definitely just for fun. I really enjoyed talking to all these brilliant minds and having them spit just facts at us for 40 minutes straight. I'm not really sure how they do it so well, but it's amazing. And then definitely the money will hopefully come along down the line. That'd be the dream, to make a living doing this. So definitely just going to keep at it and see where it goes. So
we're on the right track.
Are you guys freshmen this year? Is this your
it's our second semester. Yep.
Damn. Awesome. Okay, you guys are younger.
When did you guys go back? Did you go back already, or are you?
No, that's why we're not together right now.
Yeah.
Christian and I, we're cold.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know which
he's local. to my college, but I live like 2.5 hours away. So
I live far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't live that far away. I mentioned that to whichever Andre last night. We live down near Scranton, so
okay, gotcha.
well, it's a little bit farther from Albany, I guess, but
Yeah, it's not that far from
it's not that
Binghamton.
far from Binghamton. So yeah, that's really awesome. Where was I going to go with that? I've noticed. How do you guys feel if you? I don't know if you've ever done this, and I've been tempted to do this with my podcast, especially that I do every day, but also with this one, because one of my goals with JRP Daily when I started that on my own was to do it first of all every day. But like the point was kind of for me to just kind of grow out of my shell a little bit and get used to pushing out content. And you guys all know that I do videos on my Instagram now, and I do all that kind of thing, and so on and so forth. And I've really gotten a lot more comfortable with it. So I guess the point I'm making is that JRP Daily, I started that around the same time as this one, but I'm on episode 78 of that, I think. So I've been doing it every day for 80 days almost, which is just crazy to me. First of all, I don't know how I've kept up with that.
Yeah.
But one of the point was basically for me to just suck at doing it at the beginning and see how I improve as time goes on and just to get better. And have you guys ever run anything with your own podcast? Like, have you ever really compared like your first couple of episodes with like what you're doing now?
Yeah.
Notice that you got better, that kind of thing?
I'll start that. First of all, like our first episode we shot in Andre's workspace, which was like all right, but we had to sit like super far away. We didn't know what we were doing with the tech, and we've grown into obviously where Andre is. He's kind of building out a studio there that we can move into. We started out with these headsets that Andre took from his work. They're good for now, but we're moving into the microphone like he has there. And then definitely just being comfortable talking has gotten a lot easier for me. The first episode, I really didn't think I sounded too good, but still trying to overcome that every episode. I mean, it's definitely hard to sound confident and relaxed when you're speaking, but we're getting there. So
Definitely, yeah. I think that's a cool thing about podcasts. And Tim Ferriss, I mean, he's one of the top podcasters. He does the same thing. On his website, he lists the top 5 episodes of the Tim Ferriss Show. And on that list is his first episode just because of how bad it is according to him. So like,
Right.
So like that's just how it is. And the most important thing is just starting, which is what me and Christian told ourselves. Like, yeah, we might put out shit content for the first few times, and you know the important thing is that first you're trying, you're actually doing something, and the second is just staying consistent. So like, yeah, we put out only 14 episodes so far, but we've been consistently putting them out at the same time every week since we started. And I mean, to you, props to you, every day. That's huge.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they start podcasting, they don't go past 10 episodes. They might put out an episode now, maybe an episode next month, 2 months from now. So just staying consistent and actually doing it and making a commitment is the most important part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like even if you think you've come a long way from right now, like if you keep going in the year from now, you'll look back at this and be like, wow, I sound like a moron. So you're always improving.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
about
sure.
that a lot.
Yeah.
So-
Also, yeah, I like that idea too. And for me right now, I think there's also a huge element that a lot of people in our niche, excluding Gerard maybe, but a lot of people like trying to do the content don't really, they try to do too much at once, and that hinders everything at the same time. And I think there's importance in focusing on a podcast or focusing on Instagram and just focusing on one of them. I focus on 2. I focus on podcasting and Instagram, and those are my 2. I have a Facebook page that I rarely post on. I've started putting up like previews to podcast on LinkedIn actually and stuff like that, but I focus on making my content for Instagram and for the podcast, and I think that's what's helped me be able to do 1 podcast every day and 2 Instagram posts every day for the past however many days I've been doing it now. So you know, when you're just starting out, everybody wants to try to be an affiliate marketer and an e-com guru and a podcaster and a whatever. And it's like you got to pick one and you got to go with it.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Like Andre and I have come up with some ideas for what we would like to do in the future, but we're kind of pushing them off right now as we just try to get a hang of this.
Yeah, I don't think it's really, I mean, move on when you can outsource is what I would say. Once you can get someone to, because I'm editing all my own videos right now too, those videos I put up on Instagram every day, and that takes a lot of friggin' time. It takes me like 2 hours to edit one of those 30-second videos, So
Yeah.
until I can get
Yeah.
someone else doing that.
That's
Yeah,
the same with our
that'd be nice.
podcast. Probably takes just the same amount of time. Well, actually longer, because you got to listen through the episode, right? And then obviously edit it
Yeah.
every, however long. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, okay, yeah. So this is what I tell Christian every time, right? It's like you said, focusing on one thing or a few things at a time, right? Because once you build that to where you want it to be, that's when you could start, branching off with different. It's like branding. Once you have a brand that people trust, know that they'll get value from, then you could branch off into different things that you want to do. So
Right.
that's kind of where we're trying to go. We're on more platforms just because I guess it's like a two-man team, I'd say. With Christian running Twitter, he's got full attention on the Twitter. We both obviously do the podcast, and then I control the Instagram, and then LinkedIn, Facebook, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's really awesome. That's a good thing to talk about. And actually, fun story where we all have something in common here is I like you guys telling us about how you kind of just had to push yourself, just jump off the diving board with the podcast, and you made it sound like you weren't sure if you were ready to do it, but at some point, you weren't toes in the water. You just kind of went all in. We did the same exact thing. Actually, if you listen to this, we put all these episodes on YouTube, starting with episode 1, but we actually have a not so secret episode 0 that is on Apple, Google, Spotify, all those other platforms. That's just our origin stories. And what we did there was, do you want to tell them what we did? I feel like I'm talking to you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, it was. And when he said we were both like jumping off the diving board, mine was kind of like a forced baptism. Like Justin's like, hey, you want to come over to the college and spend the night? I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? Because I was home at that time. And yeah, so I went over, and then that night Justin's like, okay, you want to do the podcast? I'm like, we never did one before, but all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just scootled on over to the phone, and we did the podcast.
And that's gonna go. That's gonna go back.
That's
to
the way to go. That's the way to get started. 100%.
Yeah, that's the way. And I mean, like I said too, people have to get over that fear of the fact that it's going to be bad. So I'm not gonna try to reassure anybody by telling them that it's gonna be good. Your first episode's gonna suck. It's just if you keep holding off the first episode, then you're also holding off everything that comes after it. Because our first episode, was me and Gerard sitting at my desk in my dorm room with my phone, like me holding my phone like this with the Anchor app recording it, and that was it. We didn't edit it. We didn't do anything. We just talked. I hit upload. I'm like, there, we got that behind us. Now we can focus on actually
for the number 0
doing this, and now we've done it every week since. And now, I have a little setup here with my microphone and all this, and he has a plush orange, so I guess that counts as progress. But
100%.
yeah, that's where that went from there. What else do I have here? Where did you guys get the idea of podcasting in the first place? Did you have an influence? Were you listening to podcasts and you're like, this is cool, I want to do this? Or was there some?
Well, Andre just came to me one day and said, let's start a podcast, and I just kind of said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah,
That's
it was
basically where I
really
got it from.
just a random thought. I mean, I don't know, one day I just had this vision because I don't know, I've always been really into the education platform, making students aware of opportunities outside the classroom. And I figured, okay, I love podcasts. I love Tim Ferriss. I love Ed Milet, all these guys. Let's just try podcasts. And so, I mean, we just literally the day I told Christian, let's start a podcast, kind of like you guys, we just recorded our first episode and went from there. So respect to you guys for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think actually Gerard was probably listening to podcasts well before I was, but
yeah, I was, just because the way I got into podcasts, and even just I was the curiosity about entrepreneurism and business to begin with is when I'm making stuff either on a piece of paper with a pencil or drawing on my computer for my art, I don't have anything to listen to while I'm doing it. So one day I first stumbled upon Gary Vee, and then after that it kind of branched down to other podcasts like Joe Rogan. I listened to Tim Ferriss once or twice, just a couple of different ones, and I kind of expanded from there. Yeah, that's kind of how I got into it, sort of.
Yeah, I got really into it with the MFCEO project with Andy Frisell, and I don't know if either of you guys have listened to that, but you definitely should if you haven't.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah, we've
Totally.
talked with Andy before as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
he's
really
great. He's
that's really
great.
awesome. And yeah, that is super cool. So that's kind of how I got into it, and I was just listening to that in the car all the time. And I forget how I got into that because I was kind of trying to do Instagram a little bit first, and I just saw like one of those posts that you've probably seen 2 million times by now. They're like, these are the top 5 business podcasts, and like in every and I'm one of them now too. Every post for some reason they don't put the MFCEO project on there, and then the comments are just filled with people saying, why is the MFCEO
like,
project
put it
not
on
on
there.
there? So naturally, that was the one I listened to instead of the ones actually in the post, and I just got hooked. And now I have all sorts of podcast surroundings. I have my podcast junkie shirt, which I forgot to put on today.
Yeah, you
upset
should,
about
because
that.
this is the pod. This
I
is
know.
about podcasts.
I know
That would've been cool.
it is, seriously. And my law professor last semester was a huge podcast nerd too. I actually did. If you listen to episode 32 of JRP Daily, it's titled "Masterpiece Cake Shop versus the Colorado Civil Rights Commission," because we had to do a project on a Supreme Court case. So that's just kind of like out there with the topic. It's like, whoa, why is this kid talking about the Supreme Court all of a sudden?
Yeah.
And I actually, it was so funny. Like
It's like
people I talked to
business,
in my
cake,
class. Yeah,
cake,
I mean it's
court
business
case.
law. I think
business-
it's
like, I know.
I think it still ties in, but no. Basically that's actually with me and my group too. That's with 4 people, but we were all in the same place. And yeah, the story behind that was just like my law professor was just a really chill dude, first of all. And he basically like never even wanted to give us work, but like he had to in order to keep his job as a teacher. So he was like, I'm going to make you do this project as like a final project. And I just want you guys to give a presentation on a Supreme Court case. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's PowerPoint. I don't care if someone comes up here and talks about it or whatever. And I knew he was really into podcasts, and I had JRP Daily. So I got my group together and I was like, why don't we just make a podcast? And everyone in my class was honestly just so like, I don't really want to say jealous, but they were just so, when I told them, you just see the little light go off in their head. They were like, this is awesome. You guys literally, we sat in a room half an hour before the project was due, talked about the case, and got the highest
awesome.
grade at the end of it because we played to our audience, and it was awesome. So podcasting has saved my life. Not really,
That's
but
awesome.
that was a thing. And yeah, so if you ever have a school project and the professor's like, we don't care how you present this, just do your podcast. Just talk about it. It's literally just talk about it. Because the beauty of it was that we didn't have to know what we were talking about. We just had to exchange ideas, and that made it more interesting than
That's
just
awesome.
going up and being, because we've all been there with the PowerPoint slides, and the kids don't really know what they're talking about. They're just kind of reading the words they tried to write down.
Yeah, I'm like
And
halfway through, I'm like, oh,
Far more
fall
interesting.
asleep,
Far more interesting listening to people that don't know what they're talking about converse than someone that's supposed to know what they're talking about just talk about it,
Definitely.
I think. So that's awesome. What else do I got? Yeah, you guys, I started to touch on your edit. You guys are using Audacity. And
Yep.
by you guys, I guess I mean Andre, right? So I don't know. I played around with Audacity before, and I just don't like it, and that's part of the reason we go mostly unedited. But also, I don't know. There's something about the unedited material that I've always been into, and I try to not edit anything. My other podcast is edited too. But like, how much goes into editing? What are like the untold stories of editing a podcast?
I mean, I had no idea how to edit before I went into this. In Audacity, it's great. It's so easy. Like I said, it takes a while because obviously you got to listen back through the episode again. Our episodes aren't that long, so it's not a problem. But it's super easy once you get used to what you can do with it. It makes a huge difference. And it's not necessarily editing out things you don't want to hear. It's just
Right.
enhancing the audio for people that are listening on the other end, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I can tell with your editing. I wrote down criticisms for you guys here today, but I'm gonna try to make them productive. I noticed with your editing, listening to the videos, listening to the audios, the podcast, that it's gotten better by the last 2 episodes. I think 13 and 14. I was starting to think like, gosh, these guys have to get it together, and then the next episode would roll in, and I'd be like, oh, they did. So that was that. Basically, what was annoying me for the longest time, if you want the cold truth, was that you didn't have an outro, which now you guys play like an outro sound at least, so I know when the next episode is coming. because they used to just like roll in, and I'd be like, oh, okay, we're starting a new one. And balance was off for a long time, but that even got fixed too. And a couple of your episodes, I don't know if you guys noticed this, a couple of your episodes did that thing where like half the audio was in the left ear and half of it was in the right ear.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, did you catch that and fix it?
Yep.
Or
and that was on my end with the editing with Audacity. It's a small thing that you just have to change. So I never actually listened to our podcast with headphones on, so I never realized it until someone told me about it.
Yeah.
And again, like all these things that you're mentioning, these are things we pick up on. We're aware of them. Like the intro and outro, we just, again, like I said, we just got a professional one made for the next episode. And you guys know just as well as us that these are things that, you know, you go into it starting having no idea how to podcast, how to record, how to edit. You learn these things as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. That too. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, and I guess really push home that point that, you know, if anyone listening to this or watching this wants to start something like this, like just start it. Yeah. That's really the best thing you can do. You're not going to learn anything if you don't. You're not going to find a way to perfect it. And then if you do, you're going to be old and dead and only ever have one episode anyway. So, you know, at the end of the day, just start one. We've learned things, I'm sure. I don't really know how much this one has changed, aside from the different mascots that play the role of your microphone, depending on where you are. But other than that, I know mine has changed a lot. Mine went from those little anchor transition sounds to I did hire someone to write my music for me that I put in there and things of that nature too. But it did get better by the end, so that was really good. And what am I trying to say here? The intro theme song that you guys used to use there for a while, it was loud as hell.
Terrible.
And, so
it's like when you're watching a show and a commercial comes on.
And the next episode's gonna have our new intro right?
Yep. Okay. It's funny looking back at that. I mean, it wasn't even too long ago, but yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah. But it's fun. I mean, I think that's part of the fun of it, is looking at how
100%.
bad you were and just being like, damn. Because then you feel smarter about where you are now. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What did you get? Now you guys had a lot of listenership, I guess, right out of the gate. Was that a lot of people at Binghamton listening to it? Was that?
Yeah, did you spread the word around, or
you guys like popular kids? Like,
well, Andre, I would say this, but like Andre's family is like really big in Binghamton. Like everyone knows his family, his grandpa, so like his outreach was big at first. He has a large family. Just friends listening in, stuff like that.
Yeah, LinkedIn was a big one too. I have like a background in entrepreneurship, especially in Binghamton. Like I've pitched at local local competitions at the incubator. So I had a lot of connections through entrepreneurship and my background with it. So like, you know, I had a lot of avenues to promote it and send it to, which I guess I'd say helped a lot right out of the gate.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how did Christian end up being your chosen one? Were you guys like in the same class or something, and you're like, oh, I'd like to do a podcast with this guy? Or did you guys already know each other, or what was?
Well, we actually met like the summer before. So like the Facebook things where it's like, oh, you're going to Binghamton, me too, and then you just like text, and he's like, oh yeah, I have these few companies. I'm like, whatever, this kid's cool, I guess. I kind of just brushed him off. And then one day I saw his like Instagram story. He's like, want to make money from your phone? I was like, yeah. So I swiped up. That's good. And then he like introduced me to like the whole Forex thing. We got into that for pretty much the whole summer. Him and I and our friend Jared kind of just stayed in touch. And then the first day I got there, we met up, and then we've just been friends ever since. But I don't know why he asked me. I guess he could explain that part.
Yeah, I don't know why either. I'm kind of regretting it now. No, I'm kidding. No, I think just because, you know, finding someone to do it with you is hard, obviously. And not only that, but finding someone that you have visions that align, motives that align, and goals that align. So I mean, it wasn't really a hard choice at all.
Aligned.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, yeah, it's been great so far. Getting some better chemistry, hopefully. But
what are you guys majoring in?
I have no idea yet. Business, business.
Okay.
I'm accounting I'm going to concentrate in business analytics next semester.
Analytics. Okay, that sounds fun. I'm somewhere between accounting and finance. First I was doing accounting, then I was doing education, but that's too long of a story to go into. Gerard over there does game art.
Yeah, yeah, when you play a video game, those 3D characters that are walking around, I'm learning how to make those.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet, man.
Yeah, this stuff's
Thanks.
really good. Check them out at Gerard Mirabelli.art. That's very long, but yeah, I think that that wraps up everything I have. I don't know if Gerard had anything more, or if any of you had anything more to add to this.
Yeah, if you guys got anything else for us.
Yeah, just let us know.
You got anything?
Be on the lookout for our fun podcast eventually. We're looking to do more of a casual type thing where we just talk about.
That
current
sounds
events.
awesome to me. And I was actually thinking about that before, and I was thinking about asking you because, from what it sounds like you said before, like whoever you're interviewing does seem to do most of the talking through the podcast, and just talking to you guys throughout this episode, it seems like it would be cool to have like a spin-off podcast where you guys are just ripping back and forth to each other, having fun, because that's big with me. I like having fun, hence my orange here. Like that's just part of who I am. So I like seeing other people having fun too with their projects that they're passionate about.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot that our podcast doesn't show about us. Like we're a lot more, I'd say, charismatic off camera or off recording. So we're looking to increase.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Oh,
Yeah, 100%.
I'm gonna exclude Gerard here for the end of this. You guys have said on your podcast that you're both sports fans.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. What are your sports like? Gerard's out. What are your? I mean, who's your favorite sports team? I think
Tiger Woods.
Oh yeah, Tiger Woods.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
It's not the right time to ask Christian this question.
I'll just shift my camera and show you what's in my.
I saw a Steelers flag.
Yeah, there it is. My pride and joy. I love my team.
So you have football, basketball fan?
Oh yeah.
Mostly.
Football, basketball, golf. Not really hockey, soccer. I was big into the World Cup.
Just pissed me off.
Yeah, any sport. I don't know, college basketball, high school, but anything.
We're big into sports, and it's actually something we're working on now. Once we get Real Talk University to where we want it to be, we're gonna offshoot with sports podcasts, a bunch of different casual podcasts that we're have in the works right now. So
yeah, I don't know if you guys know about Barstool, but part of my take
is
to I'm probably hopefully going to start getting into like the more productive podcasts, but part of my take is like every car ride I just laugh at PFT and Big Cat. They're just hilarious. So I want to be like them someday, just talk about sports and get paid for it. So
yeah, I mean that sounds ideal, doesn't it?
Yes,
it's
a dream for all of us to do what we want to do and get paid for
about Barstool. I'm a Penn State fan, but yeah, so that's really cool. I'm a hockey guy, though, so.
But you guys
hockey, I'm huge on NHL.
Yeah, I've gotten really into hockey in the past 2 or 3 years. The only one I can't do is basketball, so I guess we'll leave that to Christian down there in that corner. But
yeah, NBA
gotten super into hockey. All right, that's really awesome. I think we're just about done, and I think you guys have places to be. But this has been Andre, who's down there for me at least, and Christian, who's right below me for me.
You guys wanna plug where people can find you?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Well, if you want to reach out to us personally, mine is I think Andre Haykal 12 on Instagram.
Yep. And Christian B.23.
Yep. And then our podcast page is Real Talk Uni Podcast on Instagram and Real Talk Uni on Twitter. So you can reach us there, and then links are in the bio for that. I mean, you can find us on Anchor, iTunes, Stitcher, really any podcast platform. We're on all of them. So yeah.
Go to our website.
Our website is
What are you guys using to host that?
It's called Strikingly.
Strikingly, yeah, I've looked into that before. Okay, I knew that. Yeah, okay, so yeah, in the end too, me and Gerard up here or wherever we end up on the screen are the TVS podcast. You can find us on all the same platforms plus YouTube, and yeah, it's been fun. He's at GerardMirabelli.art now. That's changed. I realized I'm gonna have to go through and change all your handles now and all the descriptions. You know you did that.
No, well, the latest one I changed it to the new one.
I know, but
it should be good from here on out.
I'll have to go backwards.
I didn't bother changing the previous ones.
I probably will because I'm a nut. You can find him there. You can find me at JustinRP56. It's been really great talking to these guys and talking to more podcasters. I'm kind of hoping we get to do this again sometime, except on the flip, and we'll go up on your show and maybe talk about similar stuff, maybe talk about different stuff. But yeah, it's been real.
Definitely. Appreciate the time, guys.
Keep in
Absolutely.
touch, guys.
Thanks
Thank you.
for having us on.